2 of the new season of Spec-5 World Tour. Go from Mid-Ohio a week ago to Canadian Tire Motorsport Park, historically and commonly known as Mosport. Very high average speeds around here. Great slipstreaming opportunity in the MX-5 Cup cars that make up the Spec-5 World Tour. Thank you for joining us as we bring you live coverage of qualifying and then the race here on HJBC for this new season of Spec-5 World Tour. David Haynes here with Devin Peters. Devin, I can't help but notice, looking at some of these track facts, suspiciously similar length of racetrack to Mid-Ohio, both of them quite high speed, but I think a little quicker around here with that long back straight as well.
Yeah, you go back to 1960 when these things were, both sort of showing up in the world. I think we were 61, they were 62, but they're both pretty fast tracks for the time. Mid-Ohio had a few more curves in the back half of it, but always good to get back to the home country, even if it feels like it's really, really far away,
So in this new season, Timon Bramley won the opening race in the pro class. Memory serves, open class went to Ian Giebler in his debut in the championship. A great start for him. But in this race, once again, will be a 45-minute race here at Mosport. But it is a brand new, fresh, clean slate for everyone, and they're heading out for qualifying right now, where they will get 4 flying laps. I think most drivers will get out there quickly in this session. Some might wait a little bit longer and give us some intrigue late on in the session.
Yeah, things were tight up and down the field in qualifying, in the pre-qualifying practice session. It was sort of interesting to see how big of an effect the draft had around here. Being a high-speed track makes a big difference if you can time those runs. We saw guys running as low as the 131s, almost on the nose. But I'm expecting that in our qualifying session here, we'll probably be closer to a 32 at the fast end of the field and go down from there. Mike Dam, of course, home country in the pro class, and Zeus Dalston, local Canadian boy in the open class. So, I know where I'm planting my flag.
Absolutely. Things are looking good in this season of Spec-5 World Tour. Another great healthy car count here at round 2. I'm seeing 29 drivers at the moment. And actually a strength of field of almost 3,000. So I think we're going to see some great competition. And even the open class drivers have gotten pretty good lately. We're not far away from kicking off the first flying laps of qualifying. It's a very cool track and the sun will set on us, so it should be a grippy one out there. Here's the slowest part of the circuit. Just a little bit of a tabletop section there at Moss Corner with some tight right angle corners. Your exit off of there is so important here in qualifying, and then also in the race you have this really long, is it the Andretti straight? It's named after someone. I feel like it's the Andretti.
Yep, that's the one. Yeah.
And then of course into a quick sweeping corner at the end of the straight as well. So a good exit there from Moss, very important, but the whole rest of the lap, you're really carrying a lot of momentum, particularly turns 1 and 2, super quick in the opening part of the lap.
Yeah, punishing too. Get a little bit offline, and it's easy to keep sliding off the track. And we've kind of noticed that this setup this season is really, really loose, especially on the cold tires. So keeping the car underneath you might be the challenge for these drivers in the first couple of laps of qualifying and the race. I like that paint job on Joel Singleton's car there. That's a good looking one.
Really matches the beautiful sunset. I think got some copper, orange, sunburst, whatever's going on there. Singleton has just started his first flying lap. There's a couple of cars a bit further around, like Michael Chase, I think, and Joshua Soto, who are about to give us some lap times and let us know what a good time looks like in these cars around Mosport. Here's the final corner now for Chase, and the 371 gets to where Barney is there at the start-finish line before the track drops away into turn 1. Chase goes to second at the moment. Simon Foweather is at the top at the moment as well, but we know, as you talked about, that tyre warm-up, the quick laps will come later on, especially around a short lap like here.
Yeah, we saw Fullweather dicing it up with some real quick drivers in the practice session. So not a super surprise to see him leading the pack through the first few laps of qualifying here. But an impressive race, and Fullweather, of course, familiar to the channel. We see Fullweather race both in the Champ Car Endurance Series as well as here in the Spec-5 Series. So good to see him putting together some good sectors. Gives it a lot of room in Moss, I'd say, that time.
Does. You don't want to write the car off in this stage right as you're getting the tyres into their nice window, because if you do, you'll be back out again on cold tyres. And just building throughout this session seems to be the name of the game on these tyres. We've now got almost 20 drivers with qualifying times in. Ian Giebler continuing his good form. The 404's gone to the top of open class for the moment, setting down that Andretti back straight. Still heaps and heaps of green sectors on the timing. And if you want to see some live timing, go to hjbc.live. It's also linked in the YouTube comments section. And that has our live timing here in qualifying. It'll give you an idea if you want to keep an eye on your favorite driver or your teammate or some friends or family. And also when we get into the race, it'll keep you abreast of all of the pit stop times and all of that good stuff. And if you like to dive into the data, it's there and available. Ian Giebler has gone across the start-finish line. And he still keeps the top of open class at the moment. He goes to 5th outright as well. He qualified very strongly as far as the outright qualifying order was concerned in round 1 as well.
Yeah, he said it was a fluke when we were talking to him post-race, but we'll see. We'll see if that remains the case after another quick qualifying lap from him there. Michael Chase, on the other hand, has leapt up to the front of the pro grid with a 32.4. That seems pretty quick to me. I don't know how much more there will be in it, but we'll have to hold on. Michael, of course, had a pretty good qualifying effort last week as well.
He's going for a little bit of improvement here. Ronnie Coates has the purple first sector. Timing only counts 3 sectors around here as Timon Bramley puts together 3 PBs and goes into second. Ronnie Coates, we've seen take a couple of wins last season, and the margins are absolutely tiny. It's 0.2 of a second to cover all of the top 6 at the moment.
Ronnie Coates says, take that back. Oh, and Simon Fullweather goes and does one better. 32.1 across the line.
And all of these drivers have got one more lap to do, now starting their final lap of qualifying to put it all out on the line. A driver who's out of sync with them, though, Mike Dam, only just starting his 3rd flying lap, and he's in 3rd, so he's got more laps, more opportunity to keep improving here. Things are looking good for him, and the times are tumbling as Rui Coimbra goes to 2nd. On that timing at the moment, and they're still about to come around and trigger. You can see where that first sector line is on the lap graphic there, just descending down towards Moss Corner. We're about to see, are they still improving on the 2nd lap? Rui Coimbra, he's experiencing some of the wide open plains of Canada there, and I think that's him done. He's gone out a little bit too wide on his final attacking lap. Simon Fullweather, no improvement so far on this lap. Ronnie Coates, no improvement so far on this lap. Yeah. But Mike Dam is finding a little bit more time. In fact, yeah, top 4, no improvement. But 5th, Mike Dam, he's going quicker, and he's got another lap yet after this one as well.
Yeah, I was watching Simon Fullweather as Timon Bramley goes and puts one right up at the top there. I was watching Fullweather and Coates as they were going around, and both of them got a little bit lost on their way through Quebec, and that's an easy thing to do.
Here's Dam to finish lap 3. Just a little kiss on the curb on the final corner there. Got to keep carrying momentum now into his 4th flying lap, but from 7th, a little bit of movement up in a 2nd, and he's got one more lap. Timon Bramley's also got one more lap, but Simon Fullweather is done in 3rd. Might still get usurped by some others. Ronnie Coates, though, won't be able to take it away from him.
Camden Hibbett was looking good through 2 sectors. He looks real good through 3, puts a 32.113 on the board and goes to 1st place in pro class.
Open class is still Ian Giebler. All his laps are done. Jose Gonzalez in second is done. Josh Olsen in third is done. And Mike Dam sets a purple first sector. He's on a flyer on his last attack here. Moss corner, he's got to get this well. And then realistically from here, once you're onto the back straight, the Andretti straight, there's only that complex of corners at the end of the lap to worry about. You've done more than half of the work at this point. You're up to the first sector. You've got to get all the way over hill and dale down the back straight here to that second sector before we know if this could take pole away from Cams and Hibbett, if he can get in front of Timon Bramley. At worst, I think he's going to start third, but this lap could be magic for him.
Yeah, we'll see if the 15-year-old can hold on. Mike Dam, though, is flying through there, puts another green sector on the board in the second one. I'm looking forward to this.
If he keeps it tidy, he's on track for pole position on home turf in Canada. Mike Dam out the final corner to the timing line, sits third at the moment. And this lap with a purple final sector takes him to pole position. He blows them out of the water almost 3/10. There was a time in this qualifying session when 3/10 would have covered your whole top 10 of cars. There is a few drivers, though, out late in this session who could still get themselves towards the front row. One of them here, David Stabe.
Stop.
I did it again.
You did it. No, I was
Target
just gonna...
fixation. It was like the one pronunciation I need to avoid, and I hit it. I drove straight into it.
Yeah, no, Staub's coming off, I think, a fun weekend over in Super Trofeo in the real world. Now driving something with a little bit less horsepower, but probably willing to slide it around just as much as he is the real thing. We'll see what he's able to do with a couple of laps here on the back half. If you got any sponsors you want on your car, make sure they get some screen time. Making sure that you're 5 minutes late getting into the qualifying session is always a good way to do it.
Yeah, it doesn't. So he's completing his third lap at the moment, and he'll jump from 16th to... No, it won't improve on that third lap, and he'll stay in 16th. So it all comes down to his final lap, lap number 4. Odyssey Adams is on his 4th lap, but not improving by the looks of things, practicing his pit entry. That would do it. Definitely a good thing to practice at some point before we get to the race, where there will be one compulsory stop within the fuel window. So then you've still got... nope, Michael Coates is done. It's really just Andy Kosick and... Stab.
Yeah. Stab's out there for another one. And I think Kosick's actually finishing up his lap here in that minty fresh car.
I looked at the laps to the stint column, not the laps completed column, and that's been thrown off by the fact that Andy Kosick has been through the pit lane already in this qualifying session, which most drivers normally don't do unless they have an accident and they find some of Canada's finest guardrail, like at the at Moss, if you get the braking in wrong there, or maybe if you push the track limits a little bit too far in turn 1. Sometimes drivers sort of breathe out a little bit in the middle of the corner, make a double apex, but if you diamond out too wide and you touch a tiny bit of the grass, there's no grip. So how's this looking for the driver of the 36? Still no improved sectors here.
Yeah, I'd say clean, not fast. And I'd note that we are getting a little bit of shade here on track, but I think it's come just a little bit too late for Staub. Stabe, you did it to me. And he's not managed to improve on the final lap. So he'll limp that thing back around to the pits and take a nice little break here. And I think that about does it for our qualifying today.
Yeah, that's everyone I could see, with still technically 2 minutes left on the clock. I don't know if it'll quite advance. Still a couple of drivers on the circuit, but no one is going to be able to take pole position away from Mike Dam, and he'll have the front row for the rolling start shared with Camden Hibbett. Behind them, Timon Bramley and Simon Foweather. Ronnie Coates and Rui Coimbra are row number 3. Joshua Soto and Odyssey Adams, row number 4. And then the 5th row is Ken Copeland and Michael Chase. All pro drivers in the top 10. You look at their car numbers and you can see who our league supporters and donators are, and they get some nice little perks when it comes to track voting. They get some little perks as far as the car numbers, and they keep the league and the broadcast running.
Yeah, heading on down into the second half of the grid. 11th place, we got Jordy Fike, Trevor Roy in 12th. Our first open driver is actually Joel Singleton, managing to pip Ian Giebler for the lead of open class in 13th and 14th, respectively. Mario Norris in 15th, David Stapp in 16th. 17th is Jose Gonzalez, Michael Coates in 18th, 19th Heath Thrum, 20th Brian Schabelsky, 21st, we got Lee Martin in open. 22nd, Josh Olson. Nick Rice Puto in 23rd. I'd say a little bit out of position from what we've seen out of Nick in the past. 24th, Greg Mack. 25th, Tom Sanders. 26th, Tom Aton. Zeus Dalston in 27th. Tim Wire in 28th. Andy Cossack in 29th. And Charles Vaccaro rounding out a 30-car grid for today. And I'd just like to point out, outside of Mike Dam, with a 31, we've got from second place all the way back to 24th qualifying within 0.8 of a second of each other. I'd say it's anyone's game tonight.
Yeah, and if you want to count it a different way and you ignore Mike Dam completely, from Camden Hibbert in second to Tim Wire in 28th is less than 1 second of lap time around here in this qualifying session. And so the lap times, the pace is very close between all of our drivers, and it is prodigiously fast around here. You know, I think I heard that for IMSA GTPs, their average speed around here is faster than Daytona.
I'd believe it.
As far as, the infield and such at Daytona goes, okay, they get up to 200 miles an hour, but then they come down to sort of, 60, 80. Here, man, just 150, 160 miles an hour everywhere around the track. So the average speeds are ferocious around here. That gives us a lot of slipstreaming, and it will come down to that game of chess, that fuel saving, the pit stop strategy, and the racecraft, now that we know the lap times are super equal across a lot of our field.
Yeah, it's really cool. It's really cool around here, just not only the layout of the track, but just kind of as a mecca of Canadian motorsports. I got to say, it's the Canadian Tire Motorsports Park now, and with respect to the Mosport name, the Canadian Tire folks actually do a lot for racing in Canada, kind of behind the scenes. Canadian Tire, for those folks who aren't located in Canada, is actually one of the big hardware stores we have down here, and the folks that own that use their sort of vast shipping infrastructure to actually transport go-kart tires and racing tires all across the country. So it's kind of a neat little intersection, and I don't know, kind of a part of the tradition of racing that we have up here in Canada, of road racing, that is. Anyway, weird stories about Canadian logistics aside.
Because Camden Hibbert was the only driver not on the grid. He is now. We get a full, but hopefully pretty rapid formation lap around here. Again, a little underneath 2.5 miles for a lap of the track.
Does bear saying, we are in only the second race of the season, but pretty clean race last week. So no penalties to be served, and only a couple of penalty points that were actually handed out. Just double checking my notes here, see if I can figure it out. I want to say only 2 penalties handed out in the last race.
This pace car's doing 60 miles an hour, which will get us around here pretty lickety-split, and then they're all going to have to pack up very nice and tight for the final couple of corners as they snake their way through there. And then Mike Dam, as you can see, from the driver's perspective, in the right-hand lane, so the pole sitter gets the inside into very fast sweeping turn 1, and you rise over the crest, almost blind into turn 2, and I've seen many a first lap incident happen around here. It can be a little blind through there, and the cars will stay side by side traditionally through that turn 1, as flowing as it is, into a very flowing turn 2.
Yeah, the camber on turn 2 is really a struggle for everyone, and we check up a little bit as we go into Moss here. It's getting a little sketchy in the back of the field, but everyone looks like they'll make it through unscathed.
Yeah, that pace car driver knows no fear. He'll do 60 miles an hour in a straight, flat, open straightaway, and then try to keep that same speed through the tightest corners on the track. So, yeah, the racers slow up a little bit there and then can catch up a little bit here. And now they're going to need to get ready to get underway. 45 minutes on the clock, should come just a little bit short of 30 laps. And everyone starting with the same amount of fuel are going to need a pit stop in the pit window somewhere in the middle of the race. That's always the intrigue of Spec-5 World Tour, is who pits early, who pits late, what length are the pit stops. We don't fully know just yet, but we will find out as we go. 2 by 2, 30 cars, 30 drivers for round 2 of Spec-5 World Tour at Canadian Tire Motorsport Park. The pace car dives in. The pole sitter Mike Dam brings us around looking for the green flag, and he's going to get it. He's got Timon Bramley, the championship leader, behind him, bumping him along. Joshua Soto bumping Ronnie Coates, and the whole field so tightly packed down into sweeping turn number 1. Mike Dam on cold tyres trying to hold on to that lead, but we know Camden Hibbett can be super brave, and I think Odyssey Adams Jr. or Rui Coimbra going off a little bit wide on the exit of turn 1. Whole field still too wide on cold tyres through turn 2, and around the outside there's no grip and no speed for Mike Dam. Someone else goes bowling, 1 or 2 cars out there. Camden Hibbett takes the race lead.
Yeah, Trevor Roy looked like he got a little bit wrong on the inside, and Mario Norris, taking evasive action, ended up putting 2 tires on the grass on the exit of 2 Clayton there, and spun it right around back to the front.
And it might have been Singleton there, the open class winner, with the orange and sunset car in a little bit of trouble on the inside as well. So plenty happening. But as they come out of Moss Corner and onto the Andretti straight for the first time, Camden Hibbett leads. Mike Dam is at his bumper. This is the way these cars race. If you ever watch them at an IMSA weekend, is it's just nose to tail, and a bump and a rub is all racing. You got to work out who you can work with, and Mike Dam is happy to sit second for the moment, it seems, but you can see how much closer the rest of them are. Joshua Soto looking down the inside to try to take a spot away from Simon Fobo. That's 3 positions gained on the opening lap for Joshua Soto as he goes into 4th, behind Bramley, behind Dam, and behind Hibbett.
Yeah, he's definitely
class leader. Is still Joel Singleton though, so he might have picked it all up through turn 2 and is still running.
Yeah, he managed to dodge a little bit of the dramas there. I think all of the open class field had to choke up a little bit as things were getting loose ahead of them. For a moment there, it looked like there might be a little breakaway at the front with 5-6 cars, but as soon as they went through the S's, it all packed back up and were glued together all the way back to 10th place.
There's a nice little open class lead that Joel Singleton has got, with a couple pro drivers immediately behind him that could be a little nervous. But then second in class is Giebler, and you can see his Salen's coloured car there with the Summit as well. And so he's just a couple cars back off the open class leader at the moment, and then third in that class is Jose Gonzalez, who we saw pick up a win or 2 last season as well, while it's still only the second ever race in Spec-5 World Tour for Giebler.
Yeah, Giebler's put together a pretty good record for himself, 1 for 1 though, so no shame in that. As they head down the back straightaway this time, we see them fanning out a little bit deeper in the field. Odyssey Adam gets a bad run and gets overtaken deep in the field. Looks like, 15th place? No, sorry, 10th place he's getting overtaken for. No, 15th place. He's given up a few spots. He must have gotten a slowdown as he was heading through Moss.
That's definitely one of the key challenges of this racetrack, is the biggest braking zone of the lap is into Moss there. And then from the driver's perspective, and we might get some onboards later on, you can't really see either of the apexes as you sit down low in the cars and you approach over on the crest, and you've just got to practice it and know it, how much speed you can carry in. You always stay just a little cautious, because if you go in too quick and you tag the dirt on the outside, you'll get a horrible run onto the Andretti straight, and you'll get absolutely swallowed up in this kind of style of pack racing as they continue to be a big conga line. First through to 29th, not 1 second spare of racetrack to be found. So Stalston in that 29th, all the way up the train here on lap 3 to Mike Dam back in the race lead.
Really is a pleasure just to see the whole timing screen lit up with the battle indicator on it, because these guys are not sparing any track. Joel Singleton gets it wrong going into the Moss chicane that time, rejoins on the outside of the track. Luckily, only cost himself a few seconds, but showing you exactly how come it's difficult. As he hits the brakes, he turns in, the car starts to get a little bit loose, and catching it, just that one little catch, is enough to put him 3 tires off the track, and he was lucky it wasn't 4.
Up front, Joshua Soto is making a couple more moves. Look at him try to go around the outside. He's passed him on Bramley already. Now he passes Camden Hibbett, and he wants to get Mike Dam as well here, potentially. Track goes back left, but he brakes a little bit early because he knows he can just slot back in to second place here. And Joshua Soto, 5 positions gained. He started 7th. Now he runs 2nd. There's a lot of drivers sort of willing to just bump the guy in front, willing to lift out a little bit before the corners, willing to roll with the pack. Joshua Soto has not been one of them as we now start lap 4.
Yeah, so far he seems to be one of the only guys pushing their way through this field really consistently. The other one that I have to shout out actually at this point is Nick Rice-Puto, running down in 12th place. Doesn't sound like much, but when you consider that he qualified 23rd, he's made a hell of a run through the first few laps as he's putting pressure onto David Stabe ahead. Did I do it? Stop.
I've no idea anymore. Yeah, Nick Rice-Puto, like you say, biggest mover in the field in just a very, very short amount of time. And now, in good position to maybe bump the driver in front of him and keep looking to go forward. They all follow wherever Mike Dam goes. It's a very, very hungry caterpillar. It goes Dam, Soto, Hibbett, Bramley. Here we go. Looks like Michael Coates is going to push along Nick Rice-Puto this time.
Yeah, he gets a good push going down into the S's. It's always a little sketchy through there with someone right on your bumper, because it only takes one little tap to push the cars offline going through there. It's just so sensitive because you're so close to the limit in the car at that point on the track.
So still a while away from the pit window opening, but I think the way that the pack racing is going at the moment, I don't see a whole lot of need to look to pit early. I think, if you're going with the pace of the race leader, why would you? It's like pitting without a partner in the Daytona 500. You're just going to be with an ability to lose time and really no chance of gaining anything on the leader.
Yeah, well, and like you said, until the big one strikes at Daytona, it seems like a really good idea. It's a little bit of a moment there for Mike, but he catches it pretty nicely. It seems like a really nice place to be, but honestly, if it's me, I'd like to be right at the front, or I'd like to be hanging off, maybe 10th, 15th place, where I got a little bit of breathing room around me before, so I can react to any chaos ahead.
A little bit going on around 11th place. Surprise, surprise, Nick Rice-Puto's gained another position, but I see them starting to fan out a little bit, and you can see, Michael Coates also gets through there, and will probably want to go with Nick Rice-Puto again, so a couple positions swapping here on the back straight, while the top 10 looked like they all stayed in line behind Mike Dam.
Yeah, Rice-Puto, that could almost be our breakaway, but then Rice-Puto went and put a heck of a line through the S's there and made up a bunch of ground. He might actually catch the back of Michael Chase here ahead, and if he manages that, then we'll be right back to running 1st through 20th. Too wide through the first turn for Joel Singleton as he makes a move on Jose Gonzalez behind them. Clean overtake.
Yeah, our open class drivers have managed to now group up again. So Giebler's gotten to the lead of that, which we haven't seen. But Singleton, Gonzalez, Threm, that's your top 4 in that division. And they're 1, 2, 3, 4 as you see him come through in that shot, with a handful of pro class drivers behind them as well. So Giebler to the lead of class, but there is a bit going on behind.
Yeah, a little bit of drama too. Jose Gonzalez would probably really like to be racing Joel Singleton right now, but Singleton's connection is dropping just a little bit once in a while. He's blinking here and there. Oh, and we see a big accident unfolding behind him. That's 2 cars, 3 cars wrapped up in that. That's Tom Sanders and Tom Athon ended up in contact, and it looked like Tom Athon ahead in the red car just couldn't quite catch it. Got a little slide on at the apex of the second apex of Moss there, and Tom Sanders just had nowhere to go. So the two of them will limp it down the back straight, take that early pit stop. I don't think that we're quite in the pit window, unfortunately for them. Yeah, not quite. So either they'll have to limp along a little bit slow or take the penalty of that extra pit stop.
Yeah, it's either 2 stops or a really, really big fuel save from here. You can see that is you can't show that before the watershed. That car's a little bit naked, having dropped the front bumper out on track. And this is pit entry here. It's quite a short pit lane, but it's not a super quick pit lane speed limit. Only, I'm going to guess that's 40 miles an hour.
35. Yeah, it's even slower than it seems.
Yeah, 35.
Yeah, Don Panos came in, bought the track at 96, and added on a nice little extension to the pit lane there. Yeah, ironically, those two will probably have to collaborate if they want to have any shot at making this race on one more stop. So it'll be interesting to see if they can sort out their differences. They don't seem to be as they go to the pit lane exit with the Cookie Monster looking up the inside of Tom Athon in the red car behind or ahead.
Me want lead car. No, never doing that again. Mike Dam still leads from Joshua Soto here as you see him going down the Andretti straight. Camden Hibbett still sits in third, and then there's been really not a lot of change behind. Those guys are obviously thinking long game strategy, fuel saving. What has happened though is they've gained a couple of extra friends. It's like playing Snake on the Nokia. Eventually, the Snake gets a little longer. Nick Rice-Puto and Michael Coates have joined the back of this group now.
Add Nokia to the list of words that I've never heard pronounced that way before. We call them Nokias up here. What the heck are you doing?
Calling them Nokias.
I'm right along though, listening to Mike Dam, and I will say I haven't detected much, if any, lifting from him. As I watch him go around here, and this is a track that's a little bit tough to fuel save on with with how much of it is just foot to the floor. Yeah, it's a little bit curious.
It's not gonna focus on mine, but that's the model of phone I'm rocking. Yeah, okay. View from our race leader with the orange roll bar, and they have just let him lead, and no one really wants to take it away from Mike Dam.
Yeah. Right now at this point, I'd say that anyone that's in that top pack, which carries us right back to, 12th place, is still in it. We're actually getting a little move here. Nick Rice-Puto's impatiently looking at the inside of Michael Chase here. We'll see a couple battles here on the back half of the top end.
Yeah, Rice-Puto making ground. He was 11th when he caught this train. Now he's gone to 10th. Next car in front of him is Geordie Fike, and then got Rui Coimbra.
Yeah, Fike actually, I think, was battling a little bit with Coimbra as well. He might have actually just lost that spot through the S's. There was 2 cars, 2x2 through there, but I didn't catch who was the one ahead. Oh, big moment for Camden Hibbett at the lead. Sorry, no, that was 3rd place for Camden Hibbett when he was going over the hill. But as he drifted out to the right to turn down into Clayton, he puts 2 tires on the grass, and 1 millisecond, 1/2 a tire on the grass, and it is disaster. And not only is he out in that grass, it is so hard to get back on track because it's cambered away on the grass there. So it's really, really tough. That's cost him a lot of time and a lot of body damage. 24 spots lost in that moment.
Maybe looking in his mirrors a little bit about what's happening with Timon Bramley behind me, and as he's looking away, he's put those tires on the grass on the way in, had that massive moment and managed to really put a bit of damage on that car. Luckily not taking anyone else with him, which could have been the fear in a situation like that.
Meanwhile,
having briefly led the race, he's now potentially out of contention and way down the field.
Meanwhile, Josh Soto has seen his opportunity and pushed the heck out of Mike Dam all the way down the back straight. And with the exception of those 2 tires on the exit, the 2 of them have managed to put together what looks like a 5, maybe 7 car length lead ahead of Tim and Bramley. So if these 2 can lock it together and push really, really hard, they might be able to secure a little breakaway. And that's really what you'd like to have if you're in that sort of lead group.
Yeah, can they keep this going? Can they make it a 2-driver breakaway?
Might even be a chance for an undercut if they were deciding to hit the pit lane while this is still alive.
Bramley in third could be really quick, but no one's close enough to bump him along, which is maybe what he might need at this point in the race. In fact, it's definitely what he's going to need if he's going to catch 2 drivers who are pushing each other along.
That was real nice there through the Moss chicane that time. I don't know, 1.2 seconds back. I think he's just about in range of the draft here. But again, he might make up some ground on the front half, but he's going to lose ground on the back half of the straight as Soto gives Mike another big push. Could be a little bit tricky if you're not used to getting the push all the way down the back straight, entering 3, 4, 5 mile an hour faster than you're used to. And it looks like they don't opt to dive into the pit lane, so none of my team strategies are panning out here.
Super touch and go if they can get away with this, because once again, it's sort of 1.1 seconds between Soto there to Timon Bramley, and now it's underneath 1 second. Bramley's had a very good turn 1, carried a lot of speed up, and he is closing this gap down through the opening part of the lap here, where you've got, turn 1, turn 2, turn 3, big sweeping corners. The slipstream's not so strong, and if he can take a good line, he can get close. It's all about the Andretti straight, where the push and the bump, and maybe Dam and Soto could get away. Now it kind of looks like it falls on, can Simon Foweather go with the leaders? He's now in 4th, with Bramley in 3rd, closing this gap.
Yeah, he's trying desperately to hold on to Bramley, and Bramley has another really good corner, makes up even more ground through the hairpin there. I think he's about in the draft range now. So the real question, like you said, can Simon drag that pack behind him up? He's fallen into the clutches of Ronnie Coates a little bit behind him.
Well, I think it falls upon Ronnie Coates to now try to push him. And it looks like it gives him one little hit, but he's got to be closer and do it a little more if he's going to put Foweather up towards the next group. I'm confident Foweather can do it on his own, but there are some drivers behind him that could help him as he pit. Interesting, super interesting decision from Simon Foweather to pit early from that 4th place. He's in. No one else looks like they would strategically without damage. He's just about, he's the first driver to select to pit, not be forced to because of damage.
Now, interestingly, Camden did take a pit stop within the fuel window, so he's definitely lost some time from that little excursion Camden has. And we've got a couple other takers here too this time by. That's Brian Shabelski on the lane. But I think Simon will come out with a pretty significant gap to Camden, so he'll be running all alone. I wonder if the undercut will be worth that much, especially without a drafting partner. Back at the front, things are looking a little spicy. Nick Rice-Puto's trying to put another move on Roy Coimbra ahead. Nick's all the way up to 7th now with a little bit of help from Foweather taking that pit stop. Definitely the hard charger, though, up 16 spots since the start of the race.
You can see the packs forming. There's your leading 3. Then over the crest comes this next train, now led by Ronnie Coates. Ken Copeland behind Rui Coimbra. Nick Rice-Puto, like you said, up into 7th. Hoping to make this train go forward, but it looks like we're going to see a move here, or at least a look from Ken Copeland to go around the outside and lead this group.
Nicely done.
See, but he's going to do it and get nicely back to that racing line. Exactly. A couple of drivers pitting. Maybe he knew that was happening. They're going to try to cover off Simon Foweather. Ken Copeland goes through into 4th as Ronnie Coates and Nick Rice-Puto pit together. Scratching my chin right now about that one.
Yeah, I mean, we did see the power of an undercut last week, so I wonder if that's sort of rattling around in the back of these guys' minds. Um, curious. Simon Foweather coming down the back straight, and he'll be really happy to see a couple of names coming back towards them on the relative screen.
Few cars that have taken left side tyres in their pit stops, like Heath Threm, who has pitted from open class just behind these guys, but out of the lane. Quick stop from Ronnie Coates at 17 seconds. 21 from Nick Rice-Puto is interesting to see, and you can see they were sort of bumper to bumper as they came into pit lane, and now you see there's 4 seconds between them.
And interestingly to me, Foweather's kind of lost ground to both of them. I thought Foweather was running ahead of them before the stop, and he's even further back. I guess a long stop out of Foweather, relatively speaking, but shorter, I guess, shorter overall though than Nick Rice-Puto. So maybe the undercut isn't quite all it was cracked up to be.
And I think Foweather did go left side tyres as well, and I don't think they've come in particularly quickly, and off the track on the outlap. Nick Rice-Puto made up so many positions in this race. He's pitted early, and now he's had a mistake on the outlap at Moss Corner.
Really easy to do. That corner just baits you. It makes you think, I could go deeper in the braking zone, and nope, a little too deep, and he finds the grass.
You could see how squirrely the car was on the new tyres in turn 3. But then he comes into Moss Corner and overdoes it there as well. Ken Copeland pits, so no one wants to run in 4th. Simon Foweather was 4th, he pitted. Then Ronnie Coates was 4th, he decided to pit. Ken Copeland had 4th place, and he has decided to pit. Then in the background, Zeus Dalston pits from the open class, where we normally want to give some attention, but it's been difficult to do. Looks like Singleton might be having some problems, and now Ian Giebler's gone back to the lead of that class. He was in 2nd, Ian Giebler, Jose Gonzalez in 3rd. Something's gone wrong for Singleton.
Yeah, I'm having a hard time finding him. What's he's
why at turn 3 he leads this group. He gets a lot of apex curb. He goes wide and he finds the grass, and then you're an absolute passenger into the wall.
Oh, and you know, the car's really not handling right. He's struggling down the back straightaway. He couldn't get a turn to the right for Moss. This is costing him all kinds of time.
Oh, big drama for the open class leader. Too aggressive on a curb. Found the slippery grass and ended up in the wall. Now, Giebler leads from Gonzalez right on his tail, and Greg Mack becomes 3rd in class for the moment. We've kind of at a moment where half the fields have stopped and half haven't, so it is a little difficult to dive into who is maybe provisionally on the podium in open class. Everything we've seen from Pro, though, is that stopping early hasn't helped. So I think the cars that have stayed out might still be in the best position at the moment.
Yeah, certainly as we see that Singleton managing to make the pit lane now, cost himself a lot of time. Certainly the lead pack of 3 has got to be the favorites at this point. Mike Dam and Josh Soto holding on to a slight gap over Tim and Brownlee, but not enough that you'd say that Brownlee's really out of the picture here. And that breakaway has managed to really solidify itself nearly 4 seconds back to Roy Coimbra, Michael Chase, and Jordy Fike. And Jordy Fike actually had a bit of a battle here with Michael Coates, who's trying to go around the outside. Fike really put the squeeze on him into the S's, but Coates uses that wide line, uses the upper ground to take the corner by the apex. Nicely executed.
Fike pits in. Things are looking good for our leading 3. You can see Tomaton on the pit lane for the 2nd time there. Now, come on, Bramley, he's got them. They were pushing. Soto was pushing Dam on the Andretti straight last time, and their lap times are looking very, very good as well. Some lap times in the 131s, 132 flats from all three of these leading cars at the moment, and they have worked out to 5 seconds clear of the next pack, as whoever was leading pack number 2 always seemed to want to pit for whatever reason.
Yeah, it's definitely helped. It'll be really curious to see how the overcut undercut goes, though. I think these guys are going to come out and be well ahead of the guys behind.
Yeah, I think so. As Fike ran longer. We just saw him pit, and he's come out second of the cars that have pitted, ahead of some guys that looked much quicker potentially, or were running higher in the earlier stint. Like, he's ahead of Foweather, who stopped early. He's ahead of Rice Puto, who stopped a little early. So for Shorty Fike, running long, running with the group, seems to have gone well.
Lights have flicked on the cars here as we tick closer to 8 p.m. in the simulator, and the track is staying cold, 68 Fahrenheit. So cold and fast out there. And if we're honest, I haven't seen actually a ton of drop off in the tires. So I do wonder if this might be one of those races where just no tires at all might be the strategy, just to keep the heat in them with how cold it is out there.
And once you've gone this far in the 45-minute race, we're approaching only 20 to go. You think, I'm not going to have many laps to bring in and then get an advantage from a new set of tires. So if new tires was the thing you thought you wanted to do, I guess that's why you would stop early, to give you, a larger window to have your investment earn dividends. This is not financial advice. Do you guys have that kind of disclaimer too?
Oh yeah, absolutely.
Advice provided by HJBC should not be considered financial advice.
I'm actually checking out this little open class battle that's sort of forming up here from about 12th place all the way back to 14th place, with Andy Cossack hanging around there in the background. But Charles Vaccaro, Tim Wire, and Josh Olson are kind of getting real close together here. Wonder if any of them will have a chance to make a move. Mosport kind of notoriously a track where it can be a bit tough to overtake. Really got to depend on sort of traditional racing, putting pressure on the guy ahead to make the moves happen.
Yeah, it's the end of this straight where the slipstream makes overtaking most possible, but then it's not a big braking zone at the end here, especially in these cars. No brake lights. They're just sort of rolling out of the throttle a little bit through here, and then you start to brake and slow through this section of the corner. So you've got to be so brave to get around the outside of someone. Tim Wire is going to pits in. Very, very cautious on his pit entry. He's giving away quite a bit of time. The yellow cones are a bit deeper into the pit entry than that.
Yeah. We are getting pretty close to the end of what I would call the expected fuel window here, though. So I've checked back in with our leaders because I'm kind of curious to see who's going to be able to push it the longest. We got Mike Dam, Josh Soto, and Tim and Brandley actually makes a little bit of a mistake. He's going to give up a pretty significant chunk of time here as they get onto the back straight. The Andretti straight. And come up the hill here.
A bit over a second that he loses, and so he does drop a little bit out of the slipstream on this particular time. And maybe if we're not far away from pit stops, you want to be very close. If you've been saving that fuel and you've got a 1 second quicker pit stop, you want to be able to jump them in the lane. If you're not close enough, you might not be able to do it. Joshua Soto pushing Mike Dam once again. Dam just a tiny bit on the brakes there. Dam has led so many laps. Soto has sat in second here for a long time. And pit entry is not going to call either of their names this time around, but for Timon Bramley it will. And from third place, he is going to make his pit stop. 12 laps to go.
You got to think that pushing in that middle section might very well have been the difference for Bramley, because he had to run alone for 5-10 laps there as he was trying to kind of close down 5 laps, I'd say. A few other cars hitting the lane too. We've got, Michael Chase, Rory Coimbra, who are having a pitched battle over 4th and 5th on track, just behind these guys. Taking their stop. Michael Coates, a little bit deeper as well, has stopped. Lee Martin, Josh Olson from the open class, taking their turn on the pit lane. And Tom Athon has not returned to the track, so I have this feeling that's a retirement for him.
18 seconds of fuel for Bramley, 16 for Rui Coimbra, 17 for Michael Chase, 18 for Michael Coates. They come out on track. Ronnie Coates is at speed on the racetrack and looking to pick up some positions from those drivers who've just stopped. But look what running long has done for guys like Michael Chase or Michael Coates. Ronnie Coates was 4th, maybe even 3rd for a bit there. And he's behind them, but Michael Chase is off the road at turn 3. We're seeing this. The drivers who take tyres are really struggling to heat them up on the outlap, and it's a horror outlap for Michael Chase.
He was just a passenger. As soon as you start to run wide, there's just nothing to do. And those, the unbalanced tires on the cold track and iRacing, it can be a real hazard. He turned in, and there was just nothing he could do all the way to the tire barrier.
So we're waiting on our top 8 still to pit. 9th on back leader of that is Simon Bramley. Mike Dam and Joshua Soto roll on for another.
Yeah, pushing it all the way to the end of the fuel window, that's for sure. So Michael Chase now, after that, circulating in 19th place on the track. Still a few pit stops to go ahead of him, but yeah, that's not what he'll have been looking for. It's really hard to get a bead on who's where with the overcuts kind of coming into effect the way they are.
Cold Tires have been catching out some really, really good drivers as well. Nick Rice-Puto, I saw on his outlap, he really had the same moment, and now it's going to catch. Giebler gets caught behind, going around the outside of them. Coimbra, I suspect it was, and Odyssey Adams, the 22, has a problem.
Yeah, Odyssey gets it wrong and ends up facing the wrong way, and Ian Giebler has nowhere to go and gives up spots critically to Heath Threm, Jose Gonzalez.
That went around the outside.
Oh, and we got another wrecker on the pit lane as Mike Dam and that was Mario Norris that was wrecking, but we got Mike Dam and Josh Soto taking the pit lane, but Josh Soto is ahead.
Whoa. Yeah, big incident here. Okay, so who is he battling? It's either Singleton or Roy.
Looks like he's got Mario Norris up the inside. Singleton's crossing him over. And then, yeah, that's Mario Norris gets it wrong, bounces off the wall. Meanwhile, Josh Soto's timed the overtake perfectly on the Andretti straight around Mike Dam. And the two of them dive for the pit lane this time and really close up under braking.
And, absolutely neck and neck coming off the pit lane, but it's at the pit lane speed limiter with a bit more momentum for Joshua Soto, who goes ahead of Mike Dam. Still need Jose Gonzalez, Ian Giebler, Andy Kosick, and Odyssey Adams to stop. But I dare say Joshua Soto right now, your race leader, and he has a moment on the outlap. Catches the grass, he spins around. Mike Dam goes back into the race lead. Soto in the grass, facing the wrong way, comes back onto the track, but Bramley will pass him. And here comes, I think, who is that to take a spot off him as well? Rui Coimbra? Yeah, now here comes Ronnie Coates and Michael Coates, and it's a costly outlap mistake, and the first mistake we've seen from Joshua Soto this race.
Oh, and that's a real heartbreaker. Racing through the hurricane and everything. Oh, but it's so easy to do, like we've been saying this whole time. 10 minutes to go, 12 minutes to go. Soto's out there on the grass again, trying to hold off Ronnie Coates and Michael Coates, who are on those much more comfortable, much warmer tires at this point.
Yeah, the outlaps are lethal. Ronnie Coates gets side by side, and he's looking for Michael Coates to push him along, and Joshua Soto will get hung out to dry here on the outlap. And there comes the train. Jose Gonzalez stops, Giebler stops. I suspect we'll see Andy Kosick and Odyssey Adams as well, and then everyone will have stopped, and we'll know where we stand and who's doing well in the final stint here, but definitely it's Mike Dam's game to lose at the moment after that drama for Joshua Soto, who's off the track again at the final corner.
Yeah, I just really can't seem to get a handle of that thing right now. So as they shake out across the line, it looks to me like we've got Mike Dam, Tim Bramley, Roy Coimbra, Ronnie Coates, Michael Coates, Josh Soto, Jordy Fike, and Simon Foweather and Nick Rice-Puto. Rice-Puto doing pretty good on the recovery drive after his incident earlier. David Stab rounds out the top 10.
Yeah, to be back in 9th and still 14 positions gained in this race for Nick Rice-Puto after what we saw happen for him on his outlap. Very, very strong recovery there. Seems like working together, Coates and Coates.
Yep.
Coates
like
and
that.
Sons. Yeah, they've got a lot of speed working together, and they could very well catch Rui Coimbra for a podium here because he's only 2 seconds up the road, and they are working together like a great little duo. Open class, Jose Gonzalez, we saw him get around the outside of a spun Odyssey Adams? And Ian Giebler? No, I'm getting the names confused.
Something like
so
that,
many
yeah.
not a team cars in red, throwing my brain for a loop today. But yeah, for Gonzalez, great avoiding maneuver, very heads up, gained him some time. He leads class from Giebler and Greg Mack at the moment.
It is really interesting to see how much Soto is struggling on these tires. He's now got I'd say a 2 second, nearly 2.5 second gap to Michael Coates and Ronnie Coates ahead. So those two, putting that experience to work, working as a team, and just gapping what was for a minute our leader.
Yeah, Geordie Fike is the car behind that's caught him by over a second on the previous lap. Now within the slipstream of him and
Rice-Puto.
Oh.
And actually, kind of looks like two incidents in one. He spins the car. Oh yeah, he spins the car on the exit of turn 1, and you'll see it here. Just passenger wants the thing sideways, but then once he's on the track, he's stuck facing the wrong way, and he has to back it into the wall to get the thing around, and then has another incident as he's trying to get it going. It ends up in the pit lane. Looks like that was a little bit more damage than he expected. I think he knocked the toe out of it.
It's not driving straight after that, and he knows it. Him and Charles Vaccaro have also had some incidents. Back on the live pictures here. Nope. Replay, this is Vaccaro, isn't it? Yeah, that's Vaccaro, and you just get a tiny bit wide in these fast corners here at Mosport, and when you get that outside tire onto the grass, you end up in trouble. Happened just clipping a tiny bit of the grass while loaded up in turn number 1 for Rice-Puto. It happens there at turn number 3 for Charles Vaccaro.
I have to think
on live pictures with Coates and Coates trying to catch Coimbra.
Yeah, I was going to say, I have to feel that the darkness is starting to play a factor here. It's already a track that's high speed, a lot of blind corners, really easy to miss an apex when you're in full daylight and or touch the grass on an entry. And we're seeing so much of it. I got to think that folks are just kind of starting to misjudge where things are as we get darker and darker in the evening here. Really challenging for our drivers today. And we've seen Rice-Puto actually DNF. He's out of the car. So Coates and Coates, as you said, chasing down Coimbra. That's the battle for the back of the top 3. Tim and Brownlee is still fighting to try and make up some ground on Mike Dam. He's managed to pull 2/10 out of it on the last lap, but he's going to have to do better than that with a few seconds between them, nearly 3 seconds at this point. He'll be hoping for a mistake from Dam because he's going to need one with only 5 laps to go at the line this time by.
As far as the clean air pace has gone, Bramley has been very, very quick so far in this race, remembering that he closed that gap up to get to Dam in a previous stint. But it's just, time attack stuff. Dam versus Bramley now, where Bramley needs to find 1.7 seconds. And I'm not sure Dam is very easily at all going to give that away in the next 4 or 5 laps.
Yeah, he's got the hopes of a nation riding on his back today. But feeling the pressure, you got to think.
We're both going to get real parochial in this battle now. I think you're in the better position than me, so I shouldn't take the bet.
I've been brushing up on my French all day, so it might come out of me when we cross the line here.
I only need the French for please a little more butter on my croissant. So that'd do me. Ronnie Coates has been very, very quick last lap. In fact, he might have been the quickest car on the racetrack last lap. The only driver in the 1 minute 31s with a 131.8 made him 6/10 faster than Rui Coimbra, who he's caught the slipstream of just in the nick of time to maybe close that gap up a little bit this lap, close it to be on his bumper next lap, and then maybe toy with him for the last couple of laps, see if he can get on the podium.
Yeah, this will be pressure. Coimbra has been, out there saying that he wanted to do a little bit better last season. Wasn't quite satisfied with how it all worked out. So it'll be interesting to see if he's able to hold this off and hold on to what will be a really good points finish for him.
Continuing to race into the darkness at Mosport with 5 minutes left on the clock. Mike Dam trying to preserve that race lead. Simon Bramley trying to catch him, and then a three-way fight brewing for the podium here with Rui Coimbra being caught by Ronnie Coates. But Michael Coates isn't out of this yet either. He's still just within that 1 second. He'll catch a little bit of slipstream at all the important places, and he knows things could get interesting between Coimbra and Coates coming into the final couple of laps here as well. All of the drivers who'll sit in line, play the bump drafting game in the opening 15 laps of the race, will throw that out the window when they see the white flag, and they still need to be careful. Joshua Soto getting back into his element there in 6th. The last couple of lap times for him have looked respectable, like he's found the balance of the car and found his confidence again after nearly throwing it all away on the outlap after his pit stop.
Now, let's not forget about our open class field. Things are pretty spicy at the front there. Jose Gonzalez has a nice little lead, about 4 seconds between him and Giebler behind, but Giebler has the advantage of having a real quick Camden Hibbett ahead of him, who he's able to bump draft with, who might have just enough to be able to drag them there. Giebler, though, has to keep an eye on his rearview mirrors because he's got Greg Mack right behind him, putting pressure on him for the second place on the podium there. So not all said and done yet in the open class, and definitely going to have to keep an eye on that battle on the way out. And a shout out to Andy Kosick, who's currently our hard charger of the race, up 14 spots, currently running in 4th in the open class in that Minty car behind. Pretty got to be feeling pretty pleased with how that's turned out for him after qualifying pretty deep in the field.
Favorite mint related things? I'm thinking mint choc ice cream. I'm thinking
it's got to be the after 8s. Bentley made that whole race car.
Okay. Yeah. All right. Yep. I'll pay that. Good choice. So he's running 15th at the moment. Just a little bit of drift of that battle for the podium in the open class, where Ethan Giebler already has 1 win to his name, and a 2nd place would very much consolidate a good start to this championship season for him. Looking at the lap times, we're doing just over 1 minute 30s. There's 3 minutes on the clock now as the leaders are about to cross the start-finish line. It will be just 2 more to go here to make it a 29-lap race. How's the gap between Dam and Bramley? Dam's just holding him back at the moment.
Yeah, Bramley's taking 10ths out, and he needs to be taking seconds out. He's got to be kind of getting close to the spot where he needs a mistake from the guy ahead in order to really have a shot at this today.
Interestingly, though, their lap times have dropped off a little bit, sort of mid-132s from our leaders, while the quickest times on circuit at the moment are happening between 3rd, 4th, and 5th. Michael Coates has caught the slipstream back again, had himself a really good lap with a 1 minute 31.7 to catch Ronnie Coates, who did a 131.9, to catch Rui Coimbra, who did a 132.2. So the accordion is getting a squeeze here in the battle for the podium, and any of these 3 drivers have a chance.
We got Heath Threm facing the wrong way in the Moss chicane. He's gotten it a little bit wrong on the way in, and easy to do, puts 2 tires on the dirt. And a few cars had to take evasive action. I want to say that's Mike Dam, our leader, who had to drive around him, and Tim and Bramley too. So a little bit of extra excitement for those 2, I imagine. Might explain a slower lap time for them. We'll see what it looks like as they cross the lane. But no harm, no foul. No one gets any damage from that one.
Yeah, I've seen plenty of drivers make that mistake that happens so easily, where you go out a little bit wide between the Moss. This is Coimbra trying to hold off Ronnie Coates. Coimbra will hold on to it. This is not the quick way to go racing, though, and it brings Michael Coates back into the equation as well. White flag is waving. Mike Dam has taken it 2.5 seconds ahead of Timon Bramley. Back here in third, Coimbra has a lot of work to do to hold off Coates, and Coates, especially once they get to the Andretti straight. Things are looking good for Jose Gonzalez, leader of the open classes. He takes the white flag 3 seconds ahead of his competition, Ian Giebler and Greg Mack, and Camden Hibbett can't do it. He has to stop for a second time to take a splash of fuel, coming up 1 lap short after his early drama at turn 2.
Ronnie Coates looking racy here as they head down over the hill towards the chicane. He's up the inside. Will Reed Coimbra hold it? He does on the way in, and they're going to be all 3 in a line. Who's going to get the good run onto the Andretti straight?
It's a good drive from Coimbra, but it still only lets him pull 1 car length, and the slipstream will close that up. Michael Coates can play kingmaker here. If Ronnie Coates pulls out, Michael Coates gets to pick and choose. Do I bump Rui Coimbra, or do I bump Ronnie Coates to a podium here? Ronnie Coates pulls out. Michael Coates follows him. Ronnie will have to go to the inside, but then Michael switches back to make it 3 wide. Michael Coates to the inside here, looking for 3rd place. Ahead of them, Mike Dam is looking for the checkered flag. Timon Bramley for 2nd place, but Michael Coates didn't want to play either of them. He goes through into 3rd. Mike Dam takes the checkered flag for the win at round 2. Timon Bramley crossed the line for 2nd. Michael Coates played them all like a fiddle, and he steps on the podium. Coimbra and Ronnie Coates were thinking, who are you going to sit with at lunch? And Michael Coates has started his own clique.
Jose Gonzalez comes around the final corner to take the first place in the open class. Ian Giebler crosses the line in 2nd, with Brian Schabowski and Greg Mack a couple seconds behind. Greg Mack rounding out that open class podium. We did see off screen Heath Threm hit the wall in Moss Chicane again, costing him what was left of his racing position. And it looks like everything else is sort of sorting itself out here. And we're watching a replay of the 21.
Was already off
Josh
track
Olson. Yeah, Josh Olson, who's had a bit of an issue there in his final time around the Moss Chicane as well.
Not a chicane. Was Threm already off there, and that's what caught him out? Love it. Great racing up front from Mike Dam. Had to keep the lap times up late on. So look, Threm, get it sideways, and you just got to get half a tire on that dirt, and then Olsen is the next car through, or one of the next cars through, and then he does very, very similar in the dark. But Michael Coates, I love that last lap from him. He just waited, took it 3 wide at the optimal time, and foxed them both to stand here in 3rd place. So Mike Dam wins from Bramley, from Michael Coates, Rui Coimbra, Ronnie Coates, Joshua Soto recovering to 6th place there, Geordie Fike, Simon Foweather, David Stabb in 9th. Jose Gonzalez is the open class winner in 10th outright, ahead of Ian Giebler, who got a couple more points there, I think, from Camden Hibbett pitting, who was in 11th prior to that. Then Brian Jabalski, Greg Mack, Andy Kosick, Ken Copeland, Trevor Roy, Michael Chase, Lee Martin. Camden Hibbett ends up in 19th as he just came 1 lap short on the fuel. Josh Olson, 20th. Exciting last lap for him. Zeus Dalston was still on the lead lap, as was Joel Singleton and Odyssey Adams. 1 lap down, Tom Sanders, Charles Vaccaro, and Tim Wire. 2 laps down, Heath Threm. And then that's 7 down, Nick Rice-Puto, after a race that started so well and unraveled a bit late. Mario Norris, 10 laps down, and Tom Athon retired after just 13.
Well, impressive racing, but with the strength of fields we're seeing these days out here, that's no surprise. Really quality stuff up and down the grid, and when the leader of the open class is north of 2,000 I rating, and the front end of the field's north of 5, you know that they're going to put on a good show for us. Looking around, hoping that the leaders of our classes, the winners of our races here, will be available for some interviews. We'll see who we're able to rustle up.
I reckon we can go straight to Jose Gonzalez if we're brave.
Let's drag him right in.
What are you talking about?
I'm feeling brave and interrupting open class winner Jose Gonzalez to say congratulations.
Thank you.
Very interesting race. Definitely high average speeds. It's that slipstreaming. It's that Mazda style racing we're used to. What about the tires? Because we saw a lot of drivers go for left-hand side tires, and it ended up hurting them.
Yeah, we did a lot of practice, and we throughout the weekend and all, and tires were just not helping me at all in this track. So last minute I decided not to take any tires, and it worked out. It worked out pretty good.
That was obviously a key strategy moment in your race. There was a key on-track moment in your race that happened at Moss Corner. A couple of cars spinning in front of you, and you picked the right lane and went through into the lead.
Yeah, I mean, this season we got a lot of competition. We got Ian's really fast, Joel's fast, and I was just trying to stay with them until the last few laps. And once they spun out, I almost closed my eyes and went to the left, and it worked out very well.
Yeah, good choice. It gives you the open class race win, and it absolutely keeps you in the open class championship conversation. Anyone to thank? Any parting words here on the broadcast?
Yeah, definitely. The guys from Spec-5, my team from another team, all those guys have been great. We've been working hard this season just to try to stay on the stream. You guys for broadcasting is pretty good, and definitely some coaches that provided the pedals, which they're great.
Awesome. Look forward to seeing you for plenty more Spec-5 World Tour this season.
Yeah, I hope so, man. Thank you.
I'll put you back where I found you. There we go. He goes back into the team room. I didn't grab him from the green room. It was a straight grab on our open class winner. But the pro class winner, Mike Dam, is going to be with Devin Peters. If you're not Canadian, turn your subtitles on now.
Yeah, there you go. That's a pretty good one there, buddy?
Yes, sir.
I think it's about time that we see it at the front of the field, right?
Yeah. I wasn't gonna let this one get away from me. That's what I tell myself every time I race here. So, no, I've kind of been away for a few weeks there, but I'm back, and this was a good one.
Well, it's a really strong performance from you. It was a real tight qualifying session until you went and laid down that smoke overlap there at the end of the session.
Yeah, I was quite surprised to actually get that low, but this is always a real tight track to race at. As you can see, that the field was nose to tail for quite a lot of it. I was actually pretty worried because I wasn't saving a lot of fuel. But we got pretty fortunate once there was a little bit of a split, and we kind of just went for it. So I just tried to pull the guys as fast as I could, make that gap. And, obviously Soto had that unfortunate off, but that was going to be a real good showdown.
Yeah, it looked like you and Soto had a little something going on there in the middle, but Timon was able to drag you guys down. Any worries that he was going to catch you at the end of the race there?
I was pretty confident that I could hold my own, just by the race pace I had, been doing all race. But I was actually a little tight on fuel, so I was, kind of just working the clock, and just managing the gap, and it worked out pretty well. So I'm pretty happy with that. Wasn't probably as exciting as some finishes, but a win is a win, man.
Hey, it was a good win too, and like I said, we might have to get together and sing some "O Canadas" after this broadcast over or something like that. I think my producer might mute our mics if I give it a shot.
Oh,
But no, good show out there today. Anyone you need to thank for the performance today?
yeah, just all the guys in the league. My teammates at Orion, Frank at Rigmotech. Use a lot of his equipment, so thanks to you guys for broadcasting as well.
Always a pleasure, and it's even better when a Canadian's on the podium.
Awesome, guys. Thank you.
Great to hear from our class winners from both classes. In open class, Jose Gonzalez takes his first win of the season. Mike Dam takes his first win of the season in pro class. Really, really great race once again from Spec-5 World Tour at Canadian Tire Motorsport Park. Next week, we head to Sebring International, so it'll be high speed and slipstreaming, but it might be just a little bit bumpier. Join us here on HJBC for that one, wherever you're watching. Like and subscribe. Please do subscribe to our new channel. That would actually be seriously, genuinely helpful to us. And we will see you next week for more Spec-5 World Tour from Sebring. I've been David Haynes with Devin Peters, Michael Derby producing. Bye-bye.